Hello, dear friends. This is Jeannie from Dollhouse Rescue. Welcome back to my workshop. It has been too long since I have worked on a dollhouse. I mean, it's been what, 2 or 3 weeks or so, and my fingers are itching to get another house done and ready to go. So let me tell you what my project's going to be. My goal. I have got parts laying here and most of a whole house here of the Marks Colonial version, and I've got enough parts to make almost 3 houses. I know I can make 2 complete houses and then I'll have some parts left over. So my idea is to build 2 Marks houses, Marks Colonials. This one has got the Disney background, the wall in the back, and I've got another set of Disney walls in here. So I'm going to try to make 2 Disney themed houses with the Disney nursery. And then my leftover parts will be Marks Colonial, just spare parts. Now, that means I'm going to take this house apart and I'm going to try to find the best pieces to make. My best house will be a Disney house, and my second best house will also be Disney, but I think I'm missing a Disney floor and a Disney wall, so we'll have a replica in it for that. So in order to make this easy for me to remember, I'm going to name my houses. I did that one other time. I'm going to name them after my friends, Judy and Sherry. So one of these houses is going to be a Judy house, and the other one's going to be the Sherry house. And I'm going to take the best parts out of my pile here to build those 2 houses and then have some parts left over. So I'm going to take this apart, and then I'm going to sort through everything. That wasn't too bad. Okay, I'm going to start organizing these by pieces that match, and then I'll divide up and pick up the pieces for the Judy house and the pieces for the Sherry house. So the house I got first, I'm probably going to call the Judy house. This one I am pretty sure is in a little better condition than the other one I had. I got this piece first. We're going to call it Judy, just because alphabetical order. So let's get these sorted out, and then we'll decide which pieces are best. This is my other front wall with the Disney motif, so that's going to be my Sherry wall. This is the upstairs floor. This one has the Disney motif, so that one's going to go over here. The other one, my other 2 of these, neither one have the Disney motif. So what I would do is I'll make a copy of this Disney floor. The other floors are identical, and so one of my houses will have a replica Disney floor in it when I'm done. The other one will have the original. So of these 2 that are left, let's see which one looks like the best. I kind of think this color looks the best, so we'll keep it over here. And this one will be one of my spare parts. This bottom floor, I've got 3 of these. They're, none of them are in horrible shape. This one's got a little bit of missing paint in here. The color in the living room is really good on that one. This one's just a little bit more faded, but no rust, no major dents. And this one is in pretty good shape right here. There's a spot, I'm not sure if that's rust or something that's just on the surface. I'm not sure about that. If that's a little rust, then I will keep the other 2. If that will clean up, then this one's in better shape. I might keep it instead. I have a complete house here, Marks Colonial, with the Disney walls. This wall, I've ordered another one on eBay, so I will have that coming soon. But with this together, that makes a complete Disney house. And then off to the side here, I've got another house that's almost a complete Disney house. It will have 2 reproduction walls in it. 1 wall reproduction and 1 floor for the Disney will be a reproduction. So this is the one we're going to start with. See if we can get it cleaned up, touch up the paint, maybe put it together. We'll see. Let's go. Tonight I'm going to get all of these pieces cleaned up and then ready for the next step, which will be looking to see if any of the paint needs touched up. But before I start that, I want to show you what I got in the mail today. I got a box from eBay. Now this box has been kind of damaged, so look at it, it's even been kind of broken open there. But let's take a look and see what's in there. It's not real fragile, so hopefully it will be okay. It's another end wall for the Disney nursery house. And I had one end wall, and now this will be the second one because I'm going to put two of those houses together. It's going to need cleaned up, so let's get it cleaned up along with everything else. A brief recap on how I clean the houses. I like to start with wiping them off with rubbing alcohol because it dries really quick and it does kind of a preliminary cleaning. And then I follow it up with a non-sudsy cleaner such as Spray 9 cleaner or 409 cleaner would work, or Awesome cleaner would work. I always, if it's a house I've not worked with before, I do a little test spot on the bottom, for instance, the bottom, the underside of the floor, somewhere that if it's damaged, it wouldn't show. I do a test spot. Now, I've worked with these Marks houses a lot and never had an issue, so I'll proceed carefully, but I probably won't do a test on this particular house. You guys just watch me as I wipe all of these down. Here's my other cleaning reminders. First of all, don't rub too hard. You can scrub those graphics right off. And the other thing is I like to spray on my rag and not on my house. You want to avoid getting moisture back here in these little cracks because it could cause rust later on if you do. Done with the alcohol cleaning, now let's use our non-sudsy cleaner. As I do these, I'm going to try to make two piles. One pile is going to need to be straightened a little bit, maybe a little bit of pounding on them. The other one I think are going to be straight. I don't need to worry about that because our next step will be to straighten these pieces out. Okay, we got it cleaned, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces I want to try to straighten a little bit. Now this one's got a little bend right here, and I might right there, and I don't know if I'm going to use my hammer on that. I might a little bit. I've got my hardwood floor out here. I've got just this leftover piece of hardwood floor I like to use as a support underneath. And this is a hard rubber hammer. It looks like it's metal, but it's hard rubber. And I'm going to hammer right in this area here. Let me lift that up again so you can see. See right there where that's bowed. But I'm going to cover that with a piece of cloth so that I don't scratch that paint as I hammer. Now the technique to hammer is you start slow and then you hit a little harder till you get that metal where you want it. There's a spot right there that's bowed up, so I'm going to hit that just a little bit too, right in there. That's a lot straighter than it was. Let's try the next piece. This piece looks good. I don't think I'm going to do any straightening on it. How about this one? This one's got kind of a bow in the middle. I might just try to see what I can do with my hands and then see where it might need a little hammer persuasion. I think right in here it needs a little hammer persuasion. Otherwise it's just kind of a little bit bowed that I feel like I can just kind of hand straighten that out. That's a lot better. I saw there was a little kink along this edge and I was able to hammer that out. Now I prefer to hammer either anywhere along this rolled edge, here or here, rather than anywhere out here in the body. You can get dings in your walls if you hammer very much away from the edge. So I prefer to hammer right along the rolled edge or right inside the rolled edge. This one's got just a little bit of a bend here, and I'm just going to use my thumb and just kind of try to straighten that out just a little bit. Otherwise, it's not too bad. one piece left to straighten, and it's the upstairs floor. And this is probably the worst as far as needing straightened, and it's not horrible. And you can see, I think right here, that there is a spot there, a bump that goes up and should not. And in case you can't see it, I'm going to show you here next to my hardwood floor. So you can see how that is like warped up right there where the yellow changes to gray. So I'm going to take my hammer and hit right there. Since I'm hitting right along the edge, I'm not too concerned about putting any dents or dings in the floor. This corner here is a little bit bent down. I've got my pliers that they don't have any lines or teeth along here, and also I put masking tape along there to help protect the paint so I don't scratch the paint. So let's try to get that kind of flat. Easy, easy peasy. This corner here is up a little bit. It needs bent down. I'll use the pliers in the same technique. And then I'm going to come down here, and this floor is just kind of warped. I think I'm going to turn him over and do some hammering on him because there's a couple of little like shallow dents or bends in there. Probably hammer it on the back along this crease. See if we can get that flattened out just a little bit. That is a lot better than it was. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is sort out the ones that need a little bit of paint touch-up, and then when I come back next time, I'll be ready to do the painting. But let me get them sorted out first. It's time to paint. Now I've got my palette out here, my cup of water with a couple of paintbrushes in it, and several different colors of paint here. I've got antique white, yellow, brown, yellow, and I think I've got bright white. There it is, bright white. So I'll shake each of these up and put a little dab on my palette. Now I did come across a really good idea looking at another crafter's videos on YouTube because I'm continually learning just like you guys are. And this is what I saw another crafter doing when she was painting. She took her palette and she covered it with this is like parchment paper or wax paper so that when this gets full and dirty, I can just strip that off and throw it away. I don't have to wash it. Now, every 5 minutes I can save in cleaning time is 5 more minutes I can spend doing either fun stuff or other useful things, either here in my workshop or in my big house. So I'll be able to use this side as a palette, and when that's all full and painted up, I can use this side as a palette because they're covered both sides, and then I'll rip that off, throw it away, and replace the paper with fresh paper. As usual, I usually like to go through all the pieces that I'm going to paint and do the white first. Now, this is actually what I call dollhouse white because on these older dollhouses, this is not, there's a little scratch here. This is not a true white, it's an off-white, and depending on how this has been stored and how old it is, this can vary from a slightly off-white to a more yellow off-white to even almost a tan. So I'll start with the lighter color, the white here, and then I'll check the other pieces and do white on all of those. So to get my dollhouse white, I start with either a bright white like here, or this is an antique white, so I might do a combination of those, and then we'll just see how close we get with that, and then we'll add a little brown and a little yellow as we need to until we get a really good match. So let's just see how this looks color wise. Remember, this paint always dries a little bit darker than when it goes on wet, so until it dries you really can't tell. I feel like that is not a bad match. If it dries a little darker, it might be just fine. I'm going to go ahead and put one coat on here, and then if that's a little bit too dark or light when it's dry, I'll do another coat. Now my last coat, I call it my color correction coat, because by the time I've done another, the first coat and the second coat, by now I've got the color, about where I really want it. So I'm going to touch up any little tiny spots on here that look like they could use either a little repaint or a little touch up. Even down here where I know the floor is going to cover, I like this house to look as nice as it can even when it's like apart. So I'm going to touch all those little areas up. sometimes when I'm ready to paint, I'll take a look at this little dark spot and I'll see, now is that dirt? Well, in this case it is. It doesn't need painted. It's just a spot I missed. So I just get my cleaning rag out and go ahead and, if in doubt, give it another little clean and see if those spots will come off. There's no sense painting them if they're just a little dirty. And there's another spot here too I think might come off if I clean him just a little bit more. So this wall, I did a test on it already, and the paint, the Dollhouse white, needed to be just a little bit darker. This piece is just a little bit more yellowed than that other piece was. So I put a little tiny bit of brown in there, mixed it up. I think it's going to be good, but if it dries a little too dark, I'll do another coat to color correct it. I've got a little bit bigger area here. I'll probably paint that, and then you'll see me wipe it off, and then I'll paint it again if it needs to be. I'm pretty happy with this piece. Now, if this seems a little bit light, I might go back in a minute and do another real thin coat of just slightly darker shade. Otherwise, this piece looks pretty good front and back. I think it's good. Now, if you noticed over here when I touched up between here, I avoided the dark lines and just put the white, the Dollhouse white between those dark lines so that I'm not covering up that detail of that graphic. And I don't have to come back and worry about repainting those lines back on there. But the paint was rubbed a little bit thin along there, so I spruced that up. Looks good.